Welcome back everyone to your weekly episode of Redstone with Ripper. It is episode 7 and we have done a fair bit of stuff with pistons over the last couple of episodes, so I've decided to take a bit of a break from that. So today we're going to be covering hopper systems, so let's get right into it. Okay guys, so to start off this episode, I'm going to go through a little bit of a refresher for hoppers. Most of you guys should probably know this stuff, but just to make sure. So any block or actually a couple of entities like minecart chests and hopper minecarts can be detected with a comparator if there's items in them. So pretty much anything that holds an item. So you chuck a bit of coal in there, you can see of course it's detected by the comparator. It can be at any angle just like that. But what some of you may not know is this can actually work through a block. So we do that. You can see it's working through the block there. The block has to be in the middle of it, so it won't work like that. And it won't work at an angle like that. So it only works directly in a line from the block it's detecting. So it works with any block, furnace, dropper, you name it. Yeah, it works in any direction as well. So just thought some of you might want to know that. Now, of course, a hopper can accept items and it can take items out of another block that holds items. So it can take out of a furnace, it can take out of any block that can be detected with a comparator, basically. So how do we put stuff into hoppers? Well, we can just put it in and then it will draw it out of the chest here. We can put it in using a dropper. And you can see that the item didn't actually spew out, but it is still in here. Now that is a property exclusive to a dropper. Droppers will input items into another item carrying block without it spewing out the item into the world. So it will automatically just place it in there. I don't believe dispensers work like this. It's exclusive to droppers. Now we'll cover this kind of property with droppers when we go over item elevators later in the series, so don't worry about that. I just wanted to point it out here. We can also use minecart with hoppers. They will pass it through, and also minecarts with chests as such. And one last quick thing to note, I believe this is exclusive to furnaces. We can see the furnace, we've got nothing in it. If we put coal in the top, one piece of coal passes through into the top slot, which is not where you want your coal. We have to actually put it in the side where it will pass into the bottom of the furnace. And yeah, the furnace will draw out items from the bottom as usual. So the property that really makes hoppers interesting, in my opinion, is the fact that you can actually lock hoppers. Now, what do I mean by locking the hopper? It's a kind of terminology that I'm going to use. You may use a different terminology, but I call it locking the hopper when you power a hopper. Now, what this does, you can see we've got redstone block, redstone repeater to this block. Now, I'm going to use the orange wool block in this episode to denote a powered block. And because this is a powered block next to a hopper, you can say that this hopper is receiving power. So just in the same way, if this was a redstone dust, if this was a redstone repeater, if this was any redstone device, so if you put a piston here, it would extend. Very much the same way, this hopper is receiving power. So what does a locked hopper do? It kind of explains itself. It is locked. So if we put an item in here, we can see that the item does not pass through to the chest. It stays in the hopper. So a locked hopper will not pass items to things like chests and furnaces and stuff like that. What a locked hopper will also not do is it will not accept items. So if we put a coal in this chest, we can see that the hopper would usually draw the item out of the chest, but because it is locked, it is not drawing the item out of the chest. So that's pretty much all the basic functionalities of the hopper explained. But now I want to show you a few exceptions to the rule I just showed you. So the rule I just showed you is that a locked hopper will not pass items through it, nor will it accept items. As you can see, the coal is still in the chest. Now there is actually, as I said, an exception to this rule, and that exception lies when you're passing items between hoppers. Now what we can see we've got the same setup as we've got here. We've got redstone block to redstone repeater to this powered block. Now, you guys, you're pretty switched on. You would tell me that this hopper is now locked. It is powered, it is being locked just in the same way as this one cannot pass the item. You would say, no, this hopper cannot pass an item through it. But when we put the coal in, get the one coal, you can see that that is not true. The hopper has passed the coal through it. Now you say maybe that's just a one-off. Maybe it can't accept items either. Well, you're wrong again. It can actually accept items. So this is a really, really strange behavior, and it only applies to the specific case of passing an item from a hopper to another hopper. If you have a vertical stack like this, there is no way you can stop the items from passing between one hopper to the next. It is impossible to lock them. And that is for the case when the hopper is pointed downwards into the next hopper. So for our next case here, you can see this hopper is actually pointed in to this block. So this hopper is not pointing down at this block. Now how you achieve this effect, when you normally place a hopper on top of a hopper, you just jump stack up, you hold your shift button, as you can see, and it places it downwards. But how you place it sideways, you can see this is pointing down. If you place it against this block, you can see it's now pointing sideways. So this hopper is, I guess, theoretically attempting to pass the item into this block. But again, this isn't the case. It's really weird with hoppers. So what we've got here is the same setup as this one, except this hopper is pointing into this block, and it's still being locked, as in this case. So what happens here, you say, well, this hopper is not actually pointing into this hopper. It can't possibly pass the item. Wrong again. It actually passes the item into the hopper. Now, if we were to replace this with a chest, this hopper would never pass the item into the chest because it is not pointed into it. Again, this is only hopper specific. Just remember that. Can it accept items? Yes, it can, because this will actually always work. As you'll find, if a hopper is pointed into another hopper, it will always accept items, or it will always pass the item regardless of the state of the power state of any of the hoppers. So one last test, and that's this one over here. And this is the one we're really, really interested in. So what we've got is this hopper pointing into a theoretical block there, and it's pointing into nothing basically. So we found out that when you power this hopper, it doesn't change anything. So it's exactly the same as this setup, except this hopper is pointed in, but they function the same. But what if we power the bottom hopper? Now we already know this can accept items because the hopper is already pointed into it. There's no way we can change that. But what we can change is if this hopper can pass items through it. So basically this hopper is being powered. It's pointing into nothing. It's not going to accept items. It's not going to pass items unless, of course, you put another hopper below it. As over in this case, it's not going to do any of those things. And because this hopper is pointed towards the side, it will do exactly that. So I guess we'll put it in the top. It will pass it to this hopper and stay there. Because it is not pointed into the hopper directly, it says, okay, I'm going to check if this one is powered first. This one is powered, so it doesn't pass it. If we were to depower it, we could see it's passed through. So with this knowledge in mind, we can now start constructing our very first hopper sorting system. There are two more things we do need to know. They're pretty intuitive, but I feel the need to explain them. We've got two hoppers here. We've got redstone in this top hopper. Now, you can see it's not being powered in any way at all, yet it is not passing its item through. Why is that? It's because the bottom hopper is full of coal. It's got nowhere to pass it, so the coal just sits there. And all 5 slots are filled up, so the redstone cannot pass through. It's pretty intuitive, but I feel the need to kind of point it out, just in case. Now what I've got here is we've got a comparator with signal strength 2. Now this is very important. We need to know this. How many items do we need to put in a hopper to make a signal strength of 2 on a comparator? Because if you go back to episode 1 of Redstone with Ripper, you can see that putting more items increases in a hopper with a comparator pointing outwards from it increases the comparator's strength. So if we take these out, you can see it goes back to 2. Now it is actually 23 items required exactly to create a strength of 2. So if we take, I broke the hopper there, that's not good. So if we put 22 in there, we can see a signal strength of 1. If we put just one more in there, we can see the signal strength goes to 2. So using this, we can now start creating our system. Okay guys, so we're going to use the knowledge we have just gained to construct our very first hopper sorting system. And today we're going to be sorting redstone because why not? Redstone's pretty cool. And we've got this bottom hopper pointing into the chest. Now it doesn't matter which way this bottom hopper is pointing. It can be pointed any way you want. It could be going into literally anything you want. Doesn't matter. What we're going to start off with is the first thing we learned, which is powering this bottom hopper. You can see our hopper above it is pointing not into it, so it's any other direction apart from down. And as I said, this hopper can be pointing anywhere, it doesn't matter. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to remove this in a sec, but for now we're going to power that. All good. We're now going to move on to our second and third things we went over. We can see that the coal is in here, the redstone can't get through, and we've got the 23 items in there. So we're going to use both of these at once for this hopper. So what we're going to do, this is 23 items I've got in my hand. Fill the whole row so nothing can pass into this hopper except redstone. But we also want 23 items in there. So we put 23 items in there, and if we put coal in the top, doesn't matter how we put it, it's not getting through there. So it's exactly what we want. So what we're going to do now is have a think, because we kind of have the sorting system functionality kind of down already, because nothing's going to go into this chest now except for redstone. Unfortunately, if we put redstone in the top, we can see it's going into the hopper, but nothing's coming out of the hopper. So we want to change that. We'll get this out, and we'll set it back to 23. There we go. So what are we going to do? Well, we're going to use this thing with the 2 power, and I'm going to build this just so maybe you guys can visualize it. And we need a piece of redstone. We've got 64 redstone. So we can see 23 items in here. We get signal strength of 2, of course. We know that. We've already gone over that. What we're going to do now is invert the signal, bring it down here. We're going to put a redstone repeater here or otherwise this comparator will be powering this block, and that will actually power this redstone dust, so we don't want that. So what have I built here? Well, we can see this comparator 23. It's getting a signal strength of 2, as I've said multiple times. Now, if we take a single redstone out, so this is now 18 plus 4, which is 22. It has gone to a signal strength of 1, which has turned this dust off, which has turned the torch on, and now it is running into this block, which is locking the hopper. This is very important. Now, what will happen? Say we want to sort a single redstone. We throw it in. Now, this hopper says, I've got 23 items. This powers, this unlocks this hopper. Now this says I can pass items through me into this hopper. And that's exactly what it does. If we were to depower this, it would pass 1 item into here. So let's do that. And we can see the circuit has reversed itself. Now this hopper is locked. And you can see it has passed 1 item. It did get stuck in the system. Unfortunately, that's a bit of a consequence of these systems. They do tend to do that, but it's 1 redstone. We're not going to be too fussed. But we can basically see the effect. This has gone back to 22 items, and this 1 redstone has been allowed to pass through. And that's pretty much all there is to it, guys. So just to recap, basically, when this hopper sees it has more than 23 items in it, or sorry, more than 22, so 23 or more, should I say, it says, well, I go to a signal strength of 2, this torch turns off, and I allow items to pass through, and then when it gets back to 22 items, it says I now am emitting a signal strength of 1, therefore we will lock the hopper and no more items are allowed to pass through, and that achieves your sorting effect while keeping this number of redstone in there. Now, yes, it is possible to say, well, can't we use a signal strength of 3, signal strength of 4? but this is the smallest way you can do it. I mean, you could use a signal strength differing between 3 and 4 rather than 1 and 2, but in the end, you're just wasting items. So this is the most, I guess, resource efficient way to do it, I guess. Now, basically what I've got here is an item, a hopper with coal in it. So obviously when you drop redstone in here, it does not pass into the coal one. It only passes into the redstone one here. And apparently I'm burning out the torch there. That's not very good. These systems used to work a bit better. I think they have been broken in an update, but they're still pretty viable. We can also put another hopper here. Now, I believe redstone will actually pass into that hopper. So we'll chuck some more redstone in here. Okay, so it doesn't seem to be. That's good. That's what you want. Sometimes it can actually pass more than one item into this hopper. Unfortunately, it's a consequence. I think if we put it in this hopper, it actually does, yeah. But if you actually have a single train that actually allows items one by one, it won't do that. So yeah, you just have to know your hopping mechanics pretty much and just do some testing if it's not working. But as long as you keep this basic shape here, there are more compact ways to do this. Don't yell at me in the comments. But as long as you keep this basic functionality, you can never go wrong. Okay guys, so just one last little design to finish off the episode, just a little thing I thought was pretty cool. It is an auto smelter, a very basic one, but it is an auto smelter nonetheless. So what we've got is a little hopper train pulling out of all the furnaces into here. And we've also got these hoppers pointing downwards into all the furnaces. Now what these hoppers can do is actually pull items, as I said over there, out of the chest minecarts. We're going to put 40 gold ore in there. And we've got a coal in each of these, by the way. So what we're going to do, hit the button. This is going to run over all the furnaces and deposit 1 gold ore in each. As we can see, they've all lit up. We've all got 1 gold ore. We should have 35 left. Beautiful. And now we can just hit this a bunch more times. You can see we've got 30 now, so 5 each time. That's a weird graphical glitch. It's actually not happening. The cart actually isn't jumping around. It's actually, wow. It's actually falling down over there. It's just, wow, it's weird. So we can just hit it all those times. 10, deposits 5 each time. And of course you can have more furnaces than this, but yeah, it's just a little cool thing that you can do with stuff like this. And of course these will finish off and deposit the 40 gold into there, pretty much 5 at a time. They almost, you can see it's very, very quick, very, very nice. And that's about all there is to it. So that's about all there is to hopper systems, guys. So thank you very much for watching. Yeah, hope you enjoyed. If there's any queries you have at all, any questions, make sure you leave me a comment, leave me a question. I'm more than happy to answer any questions you have. And yeah, if you want to see this up close, make sure you check out the world download, which is available at the in the description of every single episode. So make sure you check that out. And that's all I have to say for this episode. So thank you very much for watching, and I'll catch you next time, guys. See you later.